Thanks for letting us know there's gonna be a Snoop Dogg showing up to do some sort of like halftime thing to try to make sure everybody is able to do something. And I can only imagine how Seth Rollins would feel about having to cover an NFC North matchup. But let's be honest, CM Punk would probably have said something along the lines of how the Bears have been. It's probably more fitting of a decision there. And as much as I would wanted to update the next game thing to feature a battle of hockey teams in the ECHL, that is now in limbo because wait for it, we got uh, a league who has been doing everything they could, but also have some form of fault against them. Go figure. A league having some somewhere fault over CBA negotiations. Sounds about right. And guess what? The player union that's supposed to be representing the players are apparently also causing a bunch of problems. Which means who even knows if the game's even gonna happen? I still have it saved for just in case, but it ain't looking too promising. Players just want to get paid. They want to do their jobs. And I'm just now realizing I never updated a thing. No worry, we can do it on the fly here. We can do it on the fly. We got time before the game officially starts to officially get this thing up to date. Let me see here. For those of you that celebrate Christmas, I hope you've been having a good Christmas. But I will say happy holidays to all who celebrate their respective holidays. Some celebrate Hanukkah, some celebrate Kwanzaa. What other kinds of holidays are celebrated? Also, there's very few sports that go on during Christmas here in the U.S. The only other ones are the NBA. I ain't about to have it be flooded with just one game, maybe two. I got my fair share of Christmas presents here, and one of the more notable ones I've actually ended up with is a book about the Japanese mythology. Who knows? I might read some of it during this game just to try to keep some entertainment value going. There's been all kinds of. It's like Japan is one of the more unique countries out there. Yeah, you can definitely see it in their culture today. It's almost like there's something for everyone to an extent. They don't just solely sell sushi in Japan, I'm sure, because of that. I'm sure they sell more than just sushi over there. They probably have a variety of options too. Just comes down to to how the taste buds are and what personal preferences are. Because there's even people who live there that have their own different preferences. Just like how there's people here in the US that have their own preferences. I've learned a tiny bit of culture, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't call myself an expert. But the Lions need to win out and the Packers to lose out in order to get into the playoffs, which opens the door for a 6-8 Viking squad to play spoiler. Wait a minute. Did I say 6-8 versus 8-6? Did I? Oh, right. I forgot. I needed to update those. Lions should be, I think 8 and. I think one of them. I think I need to up. Pretty sure I need to update some things here. It's 8-7 versus 7-8. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense to me. The NFC North has been one of the more competitive divisions this year. Yeah, the Vikings are eliminated, but still, Lions need to hope they can stay alive after this game. If not, they're pretty much over. It's Jared Goff versus an undrafted rookie and Max Brosman, which is quite the matchup, ain't it? Earlier we had Pat Prescott versus Josh Johnson. And I did actually manage to find a way to add that beef audio thing for when we need it. I actually moved it to because it's probably gonna be used whenever there's beef, which could happen a bit. But yeah, I might read a little bit of this book. Oh, and when I do, disclaimer for anything to do with mythology. Not everything is fact. Some of it may have been exaggerated or fictionalized to make something look better or look worse. And it's still gonna be interesting to. It's still gonna be an interesting read. I mean, if I have to, I can sub out. I mean, granted, basketball season is in full swing at this point. They're playing games. So if I have to, I'll sub out the ECHL games with NBA games for a brief period. And I do want to do some soccer. I once again will not be covering the Super Bowl. I'm only here to cover the regular season. That's it. I'm only here to cover the regular season. I decided, I already decided before the season started to not do the Super Bowl. I'll only do the Super Bowl if I feel it'll be if I feel like it'll get, help me avoid copyright. But at least with the regular season, I can give, I can dodge it just fine. It's and what I mean by Super Bowl, it's really iffy on how they enforce it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And the way they do so, you have to be very careful. There's a reason why there's some ads for the superb owl, and why there's a puppy bowl that takes place that is completely unrelated, and other creative measures. I will be tuning in to the Super Bowl regardless. And thank goodness we don't have to put up with the Kansas City Chiefs. Yay. We're guaranteed, given that the Eagles have been, we're all but guaranteed to get a brand new champion after the season is said and done. And here comes the cringe. That is whatever this hype package is. Let's be honest. Hype packages for Christmas football games, and it's on Netflix, are not that good. When are they ever good? How many of these hype packages have even been good anyway? All they do for the all they do with the NFL ones is just find an artist who's willing to do a gig and then just theme the high package around that. Sunday Night Football's been using the exact same person for their high packages. What's the point of having a high package? I will tell you that Kelly Clarkson won't shut her mouth up for like 5 minutes. She doesn't know how to. Vikings won the toss and want the ball. You can already tell from on the people signals they went this, which meant that they want the ball. They want it. Vikings get the ball to kick things off. We'll see if special teams becomes a hilarious factor here as well. Oh, jeez, the hiccups. The hiccups are already here. Dallas gets their seventh win of the season. They need one more win to avoid a losing record, just so we're clear. So, what does that say for this game? Well, well, the Lions must win to try and survive till Saturday. And no, and that is the only result they need. Oh, if this game ends in a tie or the Lions actually lose, their season is over. Packers get the final playoff spot. That's pretty much it. That's the only thing that's at stake today. Whether or not the Lions survive till Saturday. And the Vikings, the Max Brosmer is now going to come out to be the starting quarterback for the Lions. Better have some red velvet cupcakes ready, because you're going to be needing them. Really? Somebody made a social media post? This is time of year to be grateful for not having things stuck in our asses. And think of those less fortunate. So spare a thought for those Americans who misjudge the capacity of their own orifices. Wow. People are doing that stuff? Jeez. What the heck is wrong with these people? The heck is wrong with these people? I don't get it. Apparently they're on media timeout right now. I'm guessing there was an injury or a technical difficulty. But most likely injury. This is up to date as about 2023, if I'm not mistaken. So who knows what changes were found since. Let's see. There is an introduction thing. So, so if there was a little introduction thing explaining away about the journey thing and how they're going to handle it. I know that Buddhism played a major role in Japanese culture, since there was a Bill Wurst video talking about that part briefly, where they just say where it was like a brief history of Japan. Well, here's the Vikings on 1st and 10, and that's incomplete. I should find something to use as a bookmarker. Let's see here. What would work as a good bookmarker? Oh, I know. I know what will work for a bookmarker. Use one of these Velcro things. That'll work for a bookmarker. Use a piece of Velcro for a bookmarker. That works out. Yes, a bookmarker is Velcro. The Velcro for a bookmarker. Why not? Use Velcro for everything else. Why not as a bookmarker? So on 3rd and 9, that's a sack. Quick 3-and-out for the Vikings. Brosman, you doing anything, Brosman? You want to do anything right now, Brosman? Can't? You really can't right now, Brosman? You're gonna take a sack? Alright then. I'll be on your way. Alright, and then we get the. Well, that's enough. That kind of action. And then. Now they'll force Jared Goff to come out. See what he can do on this opening drive for the Lions. Do I need author permission for reading this? Eh. I just want to. I just want to know what kind of details there are. They already went for the passing game on 1st and 10. Oh well, carry on. Just be sure to damage some. Just be sure to. Hold on, let me pull up the fantasy league thing. Be sure to not throw to Jameson Williams, okay? Just don't throw to him. I'll be, I'll be happy over it, okay? That cool? That cool? Good. Apparently, I'm starting DJ Moore against Caleb Williams. So that could pose some problems. Didn't notice that last week, but that's what I was doing last week, apparently. But it worked out in my favor anyway. Nice week. We'll see if it works out in my favor this week. 2nd and 6. Golf just takes a sack. This is going to be a well defense is ain't it? I gotta get more opportunities to read through this quicker than I thought. Maybe. Yeah, he was still on his feet, but he's taking down. That's a 3-and-out. Nothing for either side. But yeah, I've already read through the Shinto part. It's basically the equivalent of like older Egyptian stuff. And I'm sure that it's obvious that they have multiple kinds of guys and goddesses, and we do have a flag down. False start. I guess they try to keep the offense out on fourth down. But they call a false start on King on one of the linemen, and Campbell ain't exactly happy. But yeah, I can only imagine how much Japan has changed over the years. But yeah, I can only imagine how much Japan has changed in terms of their government practices. I know that I'm most likely not gonna pronounce them as they were or supposed to be announced. We got we get the hormone period if from 13,000 to 1,000 in BC. But there were there were people that went to that archipelago in as far back as the as negative 40,000. Then there was a period from 1,000 BC to the year 240 for the Yayoi, who migrated from China and Korea, transforming the culture that they encountered. And remember, for those of you that don't remember, China is where we got books like The Art of War. I have a I have like a commercialized copy of it. Then we got the Kofun period, refers to the style of burial mounds that are most characteristic of the period. Also saw development of the three oldest Shinto shrines in the country. Dang, that old, huh? From 250 to 538. That was the first serious unification attempt. Then there's the Asuka period, which is apparently known as Classical Japan. From 580 to 710. Then the Nara period from 710 to 794. Note I said Nara. The R is pronounced a certain way. Period that saw two accounts with the books of Koiki and Nihon Shoki. Yeah, that's how it's pronounced. Also characterized by some natural disasters. I mean, we are I mean, they are a common occurrence. So I'm sure any period can be characterized by disasters, depending on how bad they are. But I guess this was especially the case here, like famine, disease. The hanging wasn't one of the most important. Oh yeah, that's right. During one of these periods, is the shogunate would take over control of the emperor, the role of emperor. The emperor was the emperor, but the shogun was in charge. Also, decline of the Chinese influence. The feudal Japan is what's best known to non-Japanese readers. Maybe the most non-readers, because we're still learning after all. Vikings are actually doing things now, by the way. Then there was the Muromachi. But yeah, like I said, the shogunate ended up being in charge. It's also the first time when Europeans arrived in Japan. That's right. That's right. While everybody in Japan was at war with each other, Europe started to show up. Possibly in an act of colonialism. All about keeping up with the Joneses, as they say. Then we get the Asushi Momoyama, which was basically another series of wars, where it seems like. Then we get the Edo period, where Japan. I know about this. This is where Japan just closed itself in the country. Well, except for the Dutch, who are only allowed to make a trade at certain places. And then the United States showed up and forced open its doors, paving the way for the Meiji period. Thanks, Matthew Perry. And then we, of course, get the Taisho period. And then we get the Showa period, which is where we get a little bit of discrepancy. Now, World War II did would based on the timeline. This particular period would occur during the Second World War, and on their side, they tried to focus the on the Japan side, they focus on their own point of view of the Pacific Front versus a lot of other places and how the war is general is viewed. And there it goes, Brosman in a sack. Hey, Ryan was talking about that stuff. I think they were wanting a penalty. Then, of course, we get the current Casey and Raywall. No flag. It's going to be fourth down. Huh. But yeah, in case you haven't noticed, Constitution did their Constitution did get rewritten time and time again. So there's all kinds of things here. Oh, oh, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. Second part is origin story stuff, talking about the main parts of the mythology itself. See, so this is where we start getting into the main mythology stuff. Let's see here. In the beginning, there was nothing but chaos and everything was silent. During, let's see here, it says here it was tangle of particles that started moving around, causing the lightest ones to flow upwards and the heaviest to fall downwards, forming a light at the top and the clouds. The create Takamagahara, or the high plane of heaven. Sound familiar to you guys? I joke around, but still. And then the heavy, and of course, Earth. If you guys remember Greek mythology, there was a whole thing about Mount Olympus. Yeah, this heaven is pretty similar to that. It's where all the gods are. Jeez, we're talking about history lessons, and we haven't even talked much about the game here. But there is a running game here that is going to be good for the first. Wonder if I can multitask. Connected by a special bridge called the Yamano Cookie. Sorry, the Yamano Ukihashi for the floating bridge of heaven. Minnesota is challenging the ruling on the field that it was enough for the first. We got a Minnesota challenge here. That was quick. The first gods who disappear and not take part in any other myths and legends are known as the Kodomatsukami. Are you wondering how I'm able to pronounce these things fast? It's because I took up some foreign languages in the past in terms of foreign to the United States. That's how I'm able to pronounce these names a little pretty fast. First three, the Central Master, Aminominakanushi. Yeah, I know how to pronounce these names very fast. Hi, Creator, Takaminusubi, and Divine Creator, Kamimusubi. Then came Energy, Umashia Shika Bihikoji. Yeah, that one's a tongue twister. Then Heaven, Aminoto Kotachi. Now I have. Yeah, have fun trying to pronounce these names. Then of course we get the whole thing. Of course they go into full details about the 7 generations known as Shinto gods appearing in the specific order. Kori no Tokotachi and Toyokumono. So here's the review. Call is overturned. Wow. No, the call stands. So the call stands. It was the Vikings who threw the challenge and they lost a timeout. So somebody messed up there. Oh, I guess the Vikings already used the timeout earlier, but the call was overturned. It's 3rd and 1. And that is a major turnover. Lions goofing up over that, and now it's the Vikings who have the ball. It was a bad snap. It occurred over a bad snap. You knew this was coming. Here it is. You popped the ball.
You blew it!
Good job, you dingus. And now they're going for a run game here. Never expect to see that. And it's still only first quarter, by the way. We're only about half an hour in. And we're still talking about the early gods. But crazy to think. Vikings are about to score with Max Brosmer as their quarterback. How crazy is that? And that's why we pay attention to the games. So apparently the Vikings did use a timeout earlier, but that was a successful challenge. And now on 1st and goal, overthrown and incomplete. The next set, we're siblings. Uegenie and Suegenie. Of course, they had to make a brother and sister to each other. And a 2nd and goal handoff is going to mark them short. Then it was Sunaguchi and Ikuji. Oronoji and Oronobe. Omudaru and Ayahashikone. And then the most prominent pair that I actually am aware of. Izanagi and Izanami. Because they basically they were the pair of siblings that put together the most prominent part of giving birth to everyone. Pretty much. That part I was aware of. And here's the run into the end zone for the Vikings to strike first. And it's Aaron Jones who gets it into the end zone. Capitalizing before the end of the first quarter. They capitalize and they strike first. On a touchdown. That's why you pay attention. Which I really hasn't been. First up came Iruko or Ebisu, the one for fishermen and good luck. And of course, the main one that I learned about was investigating was Sun God's Amaterasu. But there was also a moon god Tsukuyomi no Mikoto and Suzunu no Mikoto. And then Izanami basically fell apart after Kagusuchi. Everybody, even in the mythological times, there was actual cases of inbreeding. So it's happened. And then Kagusuchi was gone. Leading to what thought to me? Hey, Gidgeon showing up again. The water dragon. Kurogami, the ice dragon. The Kamikazuchi got thunder. There's always gotta be a god of thunder somewheres. Norse mythology, it was Thor, son of the Allfather, Odin. Greek mythology, Zeus himself was pretty much it as the god of gods. Futsunuchi, warrior god. Amatsumi Kaboshi, malevolent trickster god. And then Oyamatsumi, god of mountain, sea, and water. It was just, yeah. Well, apparently, Izanagi was a very desperate to get his lover back, his sister lover back. But guess what? Dude, couldn't get over his own losses. By the way, we're at the end of the first quarter. There we go. It's just crazy to think. Maybe Dude should have thought twice about his actions. And of course, the first emperor is known as Jimu. More of a legendary figure. There's a lot to talk about him. But yeah, the main one I had learned about was basically the main one that pretty much everyone knows of first is Amaterasu. They're all of them are sorted in alphabetical order. Like there's Fujin. Or in yeah, it is second quarter. Man, you know it's a not looking to be too good of a game. I'm focusing more on a book. Is that another turnover for the Vikings? That another bad snap? Jeez, I wonder or how the replay is gonna go this time. That is just no the ball. He was advancing the ball and the ball just came loose. And that wasn't even Jared Goff again. That's twice it hasn't been Jared Goff. Now look, you blew it again.
You blew it!
Man, I can't believe I'm having to use that clip multiple times. Jeez. Vikings might end up capitalizing again. So yeah, you can only imagine what's going on in his mind. World was split in three. And I went to Tsukiyomi. Susanoo got the C's. Amaterasu got the Takamagahara. And we get penalty flags, of course. Somebody jumped. Yeah, somebody jumped over there. That was Blake Brainell. And penalty flag. Somebody jumped again. I have no clue. Nobody wants to win. That was Jalen Naylor. But yeah, that's gonna result in a 3-and-out. But yeah, Amaterasu has a lot of stories. But yeah, I could just keep reading more and more of this if I wanted to. But let's be honest, there's only so many different. There's only so much room I have for doing so. But there's definitely some interesting stuff in it. Definitely some interesting stories. Apparently, a lot of them involve Amaterasu. Hey, hey, that tells you how important she's been to the mythology. This is about a game that nobody wants to win. If you noticed. Okay, so it was punt. So I need to update this. Now I can start paying more attention. Man, this first half is just a lot of that was just me talking about mythology. Mm, Just crazy to think. I mean, I knew she was important, but apparently she was important to the point where she's pretty much the defining figure that gets talked about all the time. Honestly, can see why. Anyway, we can finally focus on the game proper. And God ran into his own player, but he's still on his feet. He's gonna be taken down. Yep, Lions are falling apart. They just can't catch a break. Hey, at least he didn't run full steam up his teammate's anus. Granted, it wasn't really Mark Sanchez's fault. Not completely, anyway. Got the ball on time. Pass. Incomplete. They were looking for a flag. Don't get it. You're in 16. Go, throws it. It's caught. He's finally taken down. Is this is his last name just? Is his last name really Tesla? Is his last name really Tesla? Man, I would hate to be mocked for my last name if that was that. Yeah, who managed to catch that game-winning touchdown? Oh, that was Tesla. Wait, you threw a game-winning touchdown to a car? You know, that would be. No, screw you, LeBron. Ooh. This field goal hit cameraman. Ooh. That's gonna hurt. '39. Off. Throws it. Caught again. First. Man, you must suck. Well, there's the first. Well, Jameson Williams ain't being used that much. And the other one is apparently questionable. One thing is worst performance and a shoulder injury. So I was spared of more. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, it's been a hard watch for this game. It's crazy. And they're just going to a commercial break here. Yeah, I'm trying to pay attention a little bit. That short? Hmm. Yeah, he was short, alright. Definitely short. Nobody used a timeout yet. I at least haven't used another one. And apparently there was a timeout call. And they're discussing it. Seems to be a hold up. Okay then. Well, that was weird. That was weird. But now they're going for it on 4th and 1. Running play. It's close. They're giving it to him. It's so close. So close. Too close for comfort. Too close for comfort. This game, man. This game. And we got a challenge from the Vikings. Again, this is their second challenge. He was very close. So, it's looking to be one of those just recall cases. It's go. I think this is going to be a judgment call case. Hmm, that's what I think. I think it's going to be a judgment call. It's with how close it is. I think it's going to come down to judgment call. Just judgment. That's a judgment call. No, it doesn't. Red Bull does not give you wings. If it did, we'd actually all have wings right now. So 2 minute warning. I think I need. Yeah, I think I need to update that because I haven't updated that. Yeah, it's 2 minute warning. So it was upheld. Vikings lost the challenge and can no longer challenge. You need 2 successful challenges to get another challenge, and then I think that's it. Second and goal, God throws it. No. Oh, boo. Players playing dirty like usual. What do you expect? A trophy? Third and goal. They went for another running play on third and goal. And that's going to keep ticking time. Lions use their first. Lions use their first timeout of the half. Lions play calling, everyone. Lions play calling. Here we go on fourth and goal. They're trying to tie it up before the half. Ball is snapped. Goff throws it for the end zone. It's somehow held in. And Tesla is down hurt following that catch. Oh, Panay Sewell was back in too. I guess in the play is going to be under review to make sure. Okay, he is back over at the bench. But it is a. They're not. Well, I guess it was confirmed. Extra point is good. Man, there have been some crazy stuff. Vikings got 65 seconds to fix their lead back on a field goal. Penalty flags down on the overthrow. Illegal contact on the Lions. DJ Reed. Good. Get his little grubby hand off. Apparently. And that is a sack on Brosman. And that's going to force the use of the timeout. That's it for the Vikings. They'll have to shoot for the out of bounds markers now. Third and 16 gets the pass out in time, but it's going to be inbound, so they'll have to run. They'll have to run a hurry up on fourth down if they want any points, or they could have an injury timeout. But the Vikings don't have any more timeouts to use. So how would they enforce a timeout? Who do they charge a timeout to? Nobody? They're just gonna go for the hunt unit. Okay then, Vikings. You do you then. You realize how to get the ball started second half, right? I mean, it's right there. All the way. It touched the end zone. Two timeouts, 18 seconds. Clock 0-20. They might be looking field goal. And nope, that ain't gonna happen. I just take it to the half. I just take it to half. I didn't want you to move. It's going to third quarter at this point. So we're gonna take our halftime. And we'll be back. Hooray. They're just doing a little halftime show thing there, which I think Snoop is the main orchestrator of this one in particular. So it'll just be whatever, I guess. I don't. Meanwhile, I'm just gonna fill me up on stuff. For the low scoring game, ain't it? Because neither team wants to win. All the defenses, as they say. So they're scoring, not start. I've gotten what things I wanted to get. They're about to start the third quarter. Which who knows what surprises come up. They're not going to read about the U.S. Constitution next. That's actually not a bad idea. Am I in? Why not? I have a book that basically details it. It's no longer halftime, folks. It's third quarter time. Imagine if the Lions managed to pull off something special on special teams. I'll wait till the next commercial break before I throw that bottle away. Another founding documents, right? So yeah, well, we get this second half going. It's probably gonna be more of the same. So we'll get the Constitution of the United States showing up. Say hello to the U.S. Constitution right here in my hand. Yes, I now hold it in the power of my hand. Okay, I'm joking. The actual document is still up in Washington. But they make commercialized copies of it in book form. Of course, every article has multiple sections. It is a big book to an extent. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Section 2 basically details that the House of Representatives will be up for at the time selected every 2 years. Must be must be at least 25 years. Have been 7 years a citizen of the United States. And the old thing about in Section 3 talks about how the Senate at the time would be chosen two for each state, with a third of them being selected it once every being selected every 2 years. Thus meaning they serve 6 years. And we have a false start. Somebody jumped early, and it was a Zelistra for the Lions. Basically, it makes it to where House can press charges. Senate can try over stuff like impeachment. There's a lot of sections. Section 4 is basically the time, places, and manner of holding elections prescribed by the state legislator, but the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations, except as to the places of the senators. Once every year, such as meeting shall be on the first Monday in December, unless they shall by law appoint a different day. They now meet in January. They meet at the start of January. And the representatives and the Senate are now voted by public vote of the local area. Section 5 is pretty much to do with judge of elections, returns, qualifications, blah 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 blah. Section 6 is basically compensation and stuff. Section 7 has to do with bills. Bills for raising revenue. Section 8. This is a big one. Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excesses to pay the debt, provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. All duties, imposts, and excesses shall be uniform throughout the United States. Which I think you know what those are at this point. Section 9 has to do with the earliest they could abolish the slave trade. Oops, I said the thing. That means we're age restricted if we ever get anywhere. I said a bad word, apparently. Section 10 has to do with state entering into any treaty, alliance, or confederation. Among other things. Article 2, executive powers basically the President of the United States of America. Here's the important one that ended up changing. In case of the removal of the president from office or of his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of the said office, the same shall devolve on the vice president, and the Congress may by law provide for the case of removal, death, resignation, or inability of both president and vice president, declaring one officer shall then act as president, and such officer shall act accordingly until the disability may be removed or a president shall be elected. Section 2 is basically declaring commander in chief. Section 3 would be State of the Union. Section 4 is basically detailing how they can be impeached. There's all kinds of things here. Article 3 has to do with the judicial branch. Article 4 is a weird one. Apparently, the Lions got the ball back. I never noticed, huh? Tells you how boring the game this is. Hooray, we're talking about other stuff. We're reading about the Constitution on Christmas. How lovely. Section 3. New states may be admitted by the Congress into this union, but no new states shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state, nor any state be formed by the junction of two or more states, parts of states, without the consent of legislatures of the states concerned, as well as the Congress. And basically, Section 4 of that is every new state will its have the same branches of government for the state law. And then Article 5 is basically detailing how amendments can be passed. And that is intercepted! Nobody wants to win. Now we get Jared Goofball showing up. There's Goofball. What a turnover, man.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Thank you. We were in the middle of reading constitutional stuff. Article 5 is basically detailing that two-thirds of is two-thirds of the House, two-thirds of the Senate, and at the time it was written, two-thirds of the states. It is now three-fourths of the states. Oh yeah, the whole thing shot of all the vice president thing. John Tyler took that as I'm president now. You thing is this, and his thing will eventually become constant official amendment and after FDR. Similar with the term limits. Oh, it is three-fourths of the states. It's two-thirds of the House, two-thirds of the Senate, and three-fourths of the states. Article 6 basically makes all the debt be collected together under the United States Congress. Isn't other things to do with that? Article 7 is basically saying that Article 7 is basically the whole ratification thing. Here are the amendments. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of a first down for the Vikings. No, it's or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Safe to say that's the number one most uh, the number one most fought over amendment in U.S. history. I normally don't dive into politics much, but I gotta do something here, okay? This is a 7-7 game in the third quarter. Amendment 2. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's there's a key part that keeps being forgotten about. Well-regulated militia. That's the part that everyone forgets about. Vikings are just driving down the field right now. Amendment 3. This is an interesting one. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house, without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Yeah, there's actually an amendment regarding soldiers. Wonder how many people know about that. Wonder how many people know that there was an amendment for soldiers. You, it's basically letting people know you treat them right and they treat you right, no issues whatsoever. And we're almost through this third quarter already. Amendment 4. Or as Brosman is going to be tackled. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. That actually did get looked at by the Supreme Court. Damn it. So So there are still cases where Brosman is gonna be sacked, and that's gonna force the field goal unit out. Yeah, that's definitely a transition. But no, that there are still going to be times where a warrant isn't needed to search stuff. They've been messing with that forever and age. But more often than not, a warrant is needed to search the premises if there is probable cause. And it is a good field goal attempt for the Vikings. So they now take the lead 10-7. I might as well throw this away first. Right. Let's get back to where we left off here. Amendment 5. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself or be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Which is basically to do with criminals. Basically, there is a separate military court. And also, if you're declared not guilty in that one case, you're not going to be held guilty in that same case. They can't overturn it. If you're found guilty and you turn out not be guilty, they can't overturn it. It's and of course they mention exceptions to this stuff. Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy public trial. Yeah, I like to see how that turned out. A lot of people take a long time to get up to the front of a judge. By an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Those actually got tested on the books, which is how we got the Miranda rights. Yeah, that's how Miranda rights came to be. And there's another interception! More Jared Goofball! Man, that's another stinker! What another stinker to occur! You don't imagine how horrible it could have gone. Harrison Smith was right there to get it. It's like he was throwing straight towards him. Amendment 7. In suits, in suits, in suits or suites, whatever it is, at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20. And okay, yeah, that was Jordan Addison. Incomplete. Sorry. Let's get back to this. Amendment 7. In suites at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Can't review the same crap twice. So, basically. Running game actually fares a lot better. Imagine that. Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor consecutive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. I think Amendment 8 did actually get tested in some cases, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was over death penalty. Roseman gets it out. I don't know if anybody's nearby or not, but he got out of the pocket man pass. Amendment 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be constructed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. That's one of the big sleeper ones right there. Amendment 9. Basically, your right to vote is protected under Amendment 9. There's a 56-yard field goal try down the middle. 13-7. And we're still in the third quarter. Amendment 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. Which again revolves around rights to vote stuff. And those are the original 10. Of course, we got more. Amendment 11 was the first major new amendment to be passed. The judicial power of the United States shall not be constructed to extend any suit in law or equity. Amendments are prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens of or subjects of any foreign state. That's going to be that one can lead to some issues. Just so you know. And then we had the whole debacle of 1796, followed by the not so much of a debacle, but still not exactly that great of a look of 1800, which led to the 12th Amendment. I'll spare you the details on it. The 12th Amendment basically means every presidential candidate must have a running mate. No ands, ifs, or buts. They share the same ticket. Running mate is going to be the vice president if the ticket wins. But it also states why we had certain kinds of elections, like the election of 1824, occur. It's not about who has the plurality of electoral votes, but who has the flat out majority of them. Under Amendment 12, if no person have such a majority, then from the persons having the highest numbers not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president, the House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot the president. But in choosing the president, votes shall be taken by the states. The representation from each state having one vote. Quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states. A majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. And if the House of Representatives shall not choose a president, whether right choice shall devolve upon them before the then deadline of the 4th day of March. Which now would be in January. The vice president shall act as president, as in the case of death or other constitutional disability of the president. There is also a provision here for vice president under this exact same amendment. If no person have a majority to be the vice president, then from the two highest numbers on the list The Senate shall choose the vice president. A quorum for the purpose shall consist of 2/3 of the whole number of senators, and a majority of the whole number shall be necessary to a choice. But no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States. Which is why we've had one instance of a vice president not having enough votes to be vice president, apparently. Getting to default to Senate. But they still went with the guy that had the most. Whereas for the presidential one, by the way, it's in the third quarter. But with the presidential one, there was one guy who hated the most popular candidate and wasn't even considered for the tallies. Meaning that he could use his powerful influence to to convince them to vote for the candidate he would rather see get the office. Now we get to the part where we get multiple sections in some of these amendments. It would take until the 1860s before we started seeing more of them. 1865 was Amendment 13, which basically outlawed slavery. Oops. Turns out I'm gonna not see the light of day. In Section 2, shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Yep. Amendment 14, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That due process of law has been messed with a lot. And it's been misinterpreted. And it feels like there's so many different interpretations of it, it's not even funny. Nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Basically, equal protection clause. It's been abused to hell and back. Probably the second most abused one here. You're usually talking about the First Amendment, a sack and a loose ball by Jared Goff, with the Vikings potentially recovering it again. They'll be subject to review on that. Or Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. You know this is bad for the Lions, right? Was his knee down, though? Nope, it just came straight out. Clear and cut fumble. Strip sack. That is just a strip sack. Just a strip sack. Guess what? It happened again.
You blew it!
Right at the start of the quarter, no less. Now the Vikings are about to strike. Or not, because there's going to be a holding call. I don't have. I wasn't paying that much attention to that fact that there was a felony flag. Once again, let's get back to Amendment 14. Section 2. Representatives shall be appointed among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, including Indians not taxed. Uh-oh, we got ourselves a controversy with this one. I may not be allowed to say that anymore, but Roseman almost gave up a fumble himself, but he's just going to take the sack. Let's get back on track here. But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for President and Vice President of the United States, representatives of Congress, the executive and judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislature thereof, is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state. Remember, females weren't allowed to vote at this time. This the movement hasn't fully taken shape at this time. Being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged except for participation in rebellion or other crime, the basis of representation therein shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear the whole number of male citizens 21 years of age in such state. Note that was 21. It's 18 now. It's a third and stupid law. They ain't gonna capitalize on shit. Amendment 14, Section 3. No person shall be a senator or representative of Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have been engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid to comfort to the enemies thereof, a Congress may by vote of 2/3 of each house remove such disability. I know what y'all may be thinking. No, it's not gonna work as you think it is. Unfortunately. And I say unfortunately. In the sense of, unfortunately, Section 4, the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts insured for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned, but neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation insured in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any oopsies. But all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. And then there's Section 5. Yet, which is also the power to enforce by appropriate legislation. That seems to be the recurring theme. Section 15. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on amount of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Boom, there it is. Your voting rights acts have to do with Amendment 15. It's to do with Amendment 15, not the Due Process Clause. Argue 15th Amendment for your whole voting rights. Amendment 16 basically allows Congress is to pass any income taxes they want. With Amendment 17 basically allowing the direct election of senators. But there's more to it. When vacancies happen, the representation of any state in the Senate, the executive authority of such state shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies, provided that the legislature of any state may empower the executive thereof to make temporary empower the executive thereof to make temporary appointments until the people fill the vacancies by election as the legislature may direct. Yeah, have fun with that. This has been a low score. I'll say it. It's working out for me though. Amendment 18 is just prohibition of alcohol. Amendment 19 is basically giving women the right to vote. Amendment 20 basically moves the official inauguration day for everybody. Terms of the president and vice president shall end at noon on the 20th day of January. And senators and representatives will end at noon on the 3rd day of January. And of the years in which such terms would have ended if this article had not been ratified, and the terms of their successors shall then begin. So they would now, so Congress would now be forced convened every year at noon on the 3rd of January. Then Amendment 21 is basically removal of, is basically repealing the 18th Amendment. Thus legalizing alcohol again. And the Vikings are actually going to get another shot. I see you back there, Farina. Cause you're gonna cause problems now. Cause you're gonna get some problems now, Farina. Let's go, Farina. Sorry, Farina, it's starting to get around that time. Have a good time. Enjoy it, Farina. Enjoy your good time. See you next time. Man, we're going way off track because of how boring the game this is. Good news, there's pretty much. Oh yeah, remember the ECHL thing? Well, the AHL is actually apparently close to agreement of their own, so we got nothing to worry about there. If the ECHL game I wanted to cover gets canceled, next up will be the AHL for New Year's Eve, followed by the Sunday Night Football season finale, whatever it ends up being. Please have it be Panthers Bucks. It'll be so hilarious. Please, NFL, do it. Do it. We want it. Amendment 22 is basically restricting the president from being elected more than twice. Looking at you. Anyone who serves more than 2 years of a term after taking over as president will can only be elected to the office once. Any president who serves less than 2 years can serve up to 10 years as president. And that's it. Amendment 23. The district constituting the seat of government in the United States shall appoint such a manner as Congress may direct. Number of electors of president and vice president equal to the number of senators representatives in Congress to which the district would be entitled if it were a state, but in no event more than the least populous state. They shall be in addition to those appointed by the states, but they shall be considered for the purposes of the election of president and vice president to be electors appointed by the state, and they shall meet in the district and perform such duties as provided by the 12th article of amendment, aka DC is allowed to actually have some involvement in elections, but in terms of representatives, they're just there to be there. Amendment 24. The right of citizens of the United States vote in any primary or other election of president or vice president, for electors for president or vice president, or for senator or representative in Congress shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state by reason of failure to pay poll tax or other tax. Oof. Oh my goodness! Are they gonna call it a touchdown, a penalty? That was gonna happen or no? Calling it incomplete. If that had stood as called, that would have been crazy. I think they would have been ruled a fumble if that was the case. but it'll be a punt regardless. Amendment 25 basically sets the line of succession. So the 25th Amendment basically sets the line of succession and stuff. Section 1. In case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become the president. It's officially codified here. Section 2. Whenever there's a vacancy in the office of vice president, the president shall nominate a vice president who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both House and Congress. Here's the Lions trying to get stuff going. Section 3. Whenever president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, his written declaration is that he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. And until he transmits them in a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the Vice President as acting President. This was first enacted with George H.W. Bush when he served for a period of time while Reagan had to go get surgery. Section 4. Whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Again, I mentioned when it was first enacted. Thereafter, when the president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the powers and duties of his office unless the vice president and a majority of the principal officers of the executive department or of other or such body as Congress may by law provide. Yeah, I know, it's a lot. It's more entertaining than this. Transmit within 4 days to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Thereupon, Congress shall decide the issue, assembling within 48 hours for that purpose, if not in session. If Congress, within 21 days after receipt of the latter written declaration, or if Congress is not in session, within 21 days after Congress is required to assemble, determines by 2/3 vote of both houses that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall continue to discharge the same as acting president. Otherwise, the president shall resume the powers and duties of his office. Ooh, that was a lot. Amendment 18 basically lowers the legal age of who can vote to 18. Amendment 27. No law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until the election of representatives shall have intervened. Of course, there was other articles like the ones of association, some thoughts on government, Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and of course the Virginia Plan. and George Washington's farewell address. Wow, that is just falling apart fast. So, we managed to get through the entire Constitution just like that. You see what I mean? How more entertaining that was than having to watch this game? Aside from certain parts. Geez, you can make a whole video of it. "48-yard attempt. Field goal down the middle. We're in the end days. Well, I mean, we're in the end game. Anywhere, I'm gonna have to take a break from book reading shenanigans and actually pay attention to the game properly. You just took the touchback. Jeez, McCarthy only had 9 starts, and Wentz had 5 starts. And this is number 2 for Max Brosmer. And So I wonder what the latest update on the whole strike situation is. Wow. -7 net passing yards. Last team to win a game with negative net passing yards was the Texans in 2006 at the Raiders. Wow. Oh, well, man. We could get Tyler Huntley versus Clayton Tune? You serious? Oh my god, this is gonna that that Ravens Packers game is proven to be an absolute uh, dumpster fire. As this is gonna be close. That was a big run right there, and they're probably gonna give it to them. That was a big run on Jordan Addison. That is going to put a major dent. That's going to be close. Yeah. Man, Jordan Addison was so close. But Jordan Addison pulled off the craziness, took off running, and got got the touchdown. That's probably going to seal the game for him. 65 god dang yards. This helps me out a lot. I'm glad I didn't have to start the Vikings tight end over this. Jameson Williams is definitely not gonna get any points out of that. Apparently, Prime Retro didn't really have to start from scratch with Prime 4. They were just said, here you go. Here's Metroid Prime 4. Make what you can do with it. It's just crazy. Granted, it's still a 10-point game, but things are looking bleak. So now Jared Goff has to hope to breathe life into this team. As that J. Jameson Williams who got that one. Apparently, I didn't notice this, but apparently at some point Vikings used a timeout. Oops. Well, it's fixed now. I'm up to date now. Go on about your day. We got so busy talking about Constitution and how much more entertaining it was in this game than when we were doing it. It was hard to tell what even was this game. It's like the Jets finally turned on for the Vikings in the fourth quarter or something. I don't get it. Lions! Oh, yeah. They almost had that one. Thing is, Lions got some decent receivers on the team. Just that Jared Goff ain't consistent with them. So now it's third down. And another bad snap. That's the rule. It was a bad snap that led to the. No, that. No, I don't think that was Jared that time. I think that was just a bad snap. They just like, look at it, it's confirmed. It's Minnesota's football. Think it's burn clock. And G territory is on the kill. They got the CBS crew, mind you. Lions are going to use their first timeout of the half. Lions using their second timeout. They're trying to stop clock for chances, but they're looking real slow. And that's a first right there. They rule it a catch. Lions ain't even bother using their timeouts. And it's gonna go to 2-minute warning. And, and remember, but at this rate, both these teams are gonna have the exact same record. Packers can do absolutely nothing Saturday and just settle for a wild card. Just think, Sunday Night Football is gonna be real fun, ain't it? Probably be the most boring Week 18 we've had it with. And the Lions just used their third and final timeout. And for a division rivalry, they haven't really gone at each other that much. But this game is pretty much gonna be over at this rate. Vikings are gonna use their second timeout. Make sure they convert here. Well, they're just going to take the 42-yard attempt here. And it's Drew. So he said, Vikings had Darnold or Daniel Jones. They be a Super Bowl contender? As if. Yeah, right. We. It's almost as if people haven't learned. Whoa! You okay there, kicker? You okay there, kicker? But then you gotta. It's almost as if they forgot that this is the Vikings we're talking about here. And the Lions are trying to do something right here. But it's probably going to end up being in vain. Just to try and cover a spread. There's your incompletion there with 38 seconds. Think that just about does it. And an injury timeout. Yeah, I think that about does it for the Lions. Golf just trying to cover some spreads here. They're just not going to be able to do much of anything. It's over here. Yeah, that'll do it. Vikings eliminated. Packers are in. Both at 8-8, going into the final week against division rivals. Nothing else for me to talk about here. That's just how the game's going to end. As I thank you all so much for tuning in. That is absolute dumpster fire of a stream. It's probably the biggest dumpster fire we've had yet. But thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, travel safely. Enjoy the holidays, everyone.